While approaching the vehicle, I will check for leaks. I will look for puddles, dripping fluid on the ground, under the engine, or the underside of the engine and transmission. Check front light and reflectors and clearance lights. Check all lights on the front of the vehicle are clear, clean, not missing, broken, and proper color. Exhaust system. Connected tightly, mounted securely, no loose clamps. Check for damage signs of leaking such as rust or carbon soot. Has no cracks, holes, or severe dents. Follow the exhaust up to your turbo, securely mounted, no leaks, no missing clamps. Engine hoses are not cracked, worn, frayed, or leaking. Alternator is securely mounted. All wires are securely fastened. It is belt driven. Belt is not frayed, no visible cracks, loose fibers, or signs of wear. By pulling on the belt, if it deflects more than half to 3/4 of an inch, it will be excessive. This belt is snug. Coolant level is adequate level. Engine hoses, condition, and leaks. Water pump mounted properly, not loose, not leaking. It is belt driven. Belt is not frayed, no visible cracks, loose fibers, or signs of wear. Pull on belt with hand. If it deflects more than half to 3/4 of an inch, it is excessive. This belt is snug. Power steering. Fluid. Check sight glass for proper level above refill mark. Oil. Check the oil level is adequate and refill mark is in safe operating range. We already got one. Air compressor. Securely mounted, not leaking, gear driven. Power steering pump. Securely mounted, not leaking, gear driven. Steering box. Steering box is securely mounted, not leaking, not missing nuts and bolts. Steering hose is not damaged or leaking. Steering linkage. Connecting links, arms, rods from steering box to wheel are not worn, cracked. Joints and sockets are not worn or loose. No loosing or missing nuts, bolts, or cotter pins. Spring mount hanger. Spring attachments, brackets, bolts, bushings are in place. Check for crack or broken springs, hangers. Check for missing or damaged bushings. Leaf springs. Look for missing, shifted, cracked, or broken U-bolts. Check for broken, missing loose bolts, including U-bolts. Shock absorber. Is securely mounted, not leaking. Brake hose. Check hoses or lines for cracked, worn, or frayed. All couplings and fittings are secure, not leaking, can supply air. Brake chamber, securely mounted, not leaking, cracked, or dented. No loose or missing clamps. Slack adjuster push rod. Slack adjuster is securely mounted. Check slack adjuster and push rod for bent, broken, loose, or missing parts. If my brakes were released when pulled by hand, push rod should not move more than approximately 1 inch. Brake drums and lining. Check brake drum for cracks, dents, or holes. Check for loose or missing bolts. Brake linings are not worn dangerously thin. Brake drum and lining has no contaminants such as grease or oil. Tire inflation. Check proper inflation by using tire gauge. Valve cap and stem are not missing, broken, or damaged. Tire condition. Tread is evenly worn. Cuts or other damage to tread and sidewall. Tire depth. Check for minimum depth of 4/32 on steer tires. Rim. Check for damage or bent rims. No weld marks. Check for rust trails that indicate rim is loose. Lug nuts. Check all lug nuts are present, not loose. Rust trails around nuts. No cracks radiating from lug bolt holes or distortion from bolt holes. Hub oil seal. Hub oil seal is not leaking. Oil level is adequate. Turn signal. Clearance light. Not cracked, missing, damaged, proper color, and clean. Door, mirror, and bracket. Check that all internal and external mirrors and mirror brackets are securely mounted, not damaged, free of excessive dust. Doors are not damaged. They open and close properly. Hinges should be secure with seal intact. Fire extinguisher properly charged and properly secured. Check for spare electrical fuses. Check for 3 reflective warning triangles. Fuel tank. Check tanks are secure, fuel cap is tight. Check for leaks for fuel tank and cap. Clearance lights. Check all clearance lights are clean, not broken, and proper color. Header board. Check header board is secure, strong enough to contain cargo, free of damage, and no missing rivets. Air connectors. Check that air connectors are sealed and in good condition. Check that glad hands are locked in place and free of damage. Air lines. Air lines are not tangled, crimped, pinched, cracked, chafed, spliced, taped, worn, and not being dragged on tractor parts. Electrical connectors. Check that the electrical plug is firmly seated and locked in place on both truck and trailer. Electrical lines. Electrical lines are not tangled, crimped, pinched. Electrical insulation is not cut, cracked, chafed, spliced, taped, worn, and not being dragged on tractor parts. Catwalk steps. Check the catwalk and steps are solid and securely bolted to the tractor frame, clear of loose objects. Frame. Check for cracks or bends on longitudinal frame members. Check for loose, cracked, bent, broken, or missing cross members. Drive shaft. Drive shaft is not bent, twisted, or cracked. U-joints appear to be secure and free from foreign objects. Torsion bar is securely mounted, not damaged. Brake hose. Check hoses or lines for cracked, worn, frayed. All couplings and fittings are secure and not leaking, can supply air. Brake chamber is securely mounted, not leaking, cracked, or dented, no loose or missing clamps. Slack adjuster push rod. Slack adjuster is securely mounted. Check slack adjuster and push rod for bent, broken, loose, or missing part. If brakes were released when pulled by hand, push rod should not move more than 1 inch. Brake drum and lining. Brake drum has no cracks, dents, or holes. No loose or missing bolts. Brake linings are not worn dangerously thin. Check brake drum and linings for contaminants such as grease and oil. Spring hangers and mounts. Spring attachment bracket, bolts, and bushings are in place. Check for cracked or bent spring hangers. Check for missing or damaged bushing. Leaf spring. Look for missing, shifted, cracked, or broken. U-bolt. Check for broken, missing, loose bolts, including U-bolt. Shock absorber. Securely mounted, not leaking. Air mount. Check airbag mounting bolts are in place and not damaged. Airbag. Check airbag for damage and leaks. Okay, here it is. Tire inflation. Check proper inflation by using tire gauge. Check valve stem and valve cap are not missing, broken, or damaged. Tire condition. Check the tread is evenly worn. Look for cuts and other damage to tread and sidewall. Tire depth. Minimum tread depth of 230 seconds on drive wheels. Rims. Check for damaged or bent rims. Rims should not have welding pairs. Check for rust trails that may indicate rim is loose or wheel. Lug nuts. Check that all lug nuts are present. Lugs are not loose. No rust trails from the lug nuts. There are no cracks radiating from lug bolt holes or distortion of bolt holes. Axle seal. Hub oil seal is not leaking. Bud space is right there. We can do it right here. On the side. Do it right here. Bud spacing. Check wheels are evenly spaced, not damaged, free of foreign object. Coupling system. Apron is not bent, cracked, or broken. Gap. There is no gap between the apron and the skid plate, and the trailer is laying flat on the fifth wheel skid plate. Fifth wheel skid plate. Fifth wheel skid plate, it has proper lubrication, is securely mounted to the platform. All bolts and pins are secure and not missing. Release arm safety latch. Release arm is secure all the way in. Release arm is in the engaged position and the safety latch is in place. Platform. No cracks or breaks, and the platform will support the fifth wheel skid plate. Sliding fifth wheel. No leaks in the airline. No loose or missing pins. Lock pins are fully engaged. Frame will clear landing gear during turns. Mounting bolts. Check for loose or missing brackets, clamps, bolts, nuts. Check both fifth wheel and sliding mount appear solidly attached in place. Rear tractor. Locking jaw. Fifth wheel locking jaw is secure around kingpin. Kingpin is in place, not bent or damaged. Clearance and tail lights are clean, not broken, and proper color. Reflectors are clean, none missing or broken. Reflector tape is present and fixed securely to the vehicle. Splash guards are secure and not damaged. Trailer frame, or landing gear frame. Check for cracks or bends in the longitudinal frame members. Check for loose, cracked, bent, missing, broke bolt, missing cross members. For breaks or holes in the box or trailer floor. Landing gear. Landing gear is fully raised, has no missing parts. Crank handle is secure. Support frame and landing pads are not damaged. Side or trailer. Check all clearance lights and turn signals are clean, not missing, broken, proper color. Reflector tape is present and affixed securely to the vehicle. Brake hoses or lines are not cracked, worn, or frayed. All couplings and fittings are secure, not leaking, and can supply air. The brake chamber is securely mounted, not leaking, cracked, or dented. No loose or missing clamps. Slack adjuster and push rod is securely mounted. Slack adjuster and push rod has no bends, broken or loose missing parts. If the brakes were released, if I pull on it, it should not move more than 1 inch. Brake drums and linings. Drum for cracks, dents, and holes, loose or missing bolts. Brake drum linings are not dangerously thin or cracked. No contaminants such as grease and oil. Tandem release. Tandem release. Locking pins are locked in place and the release arm is secure. Spring mount and hanger. Spring attachments, brackets, bolts, and bushings are in place. No cracked or broken spring hangers. No missing or damaged bushings. Leaf springs. No missing, shifted, cracked, or broken leaf springs. U-bolts. No broken, missing, loose bolts, including U-bolts. torsion bar and torque arm. Securely mounted, not damaged. My bud spacing is evenly spaced, not damaged, free of foreign objects. Check my tire inflation using a tire gauge. Valve cap and stem are not missing, broken, or damaged. Tire condition is evenly worn, no cuts or other damage to tread and sidewall. Minimum depth is 2/32 on trailer tires. Rims are not damaged or bent, have no welding repairs, no rust trails that may indicate the rim is loose on wheel. Lug nuts. All lug nuts are present. Lug nuts are not loose. No rust trails around the nuts. No cracks radiating from bolt holes or distortion of the bolt holes. My hub oil seal. My hub oil seal is not leaking. Oil level is adequate. Door tie. My door tie is secure. My splash guards are not damaged and securely mounted. All clearance lights on the rear of the trailer, tail lights, turn signals are clean and not missing or broken. They're the proper color. Reflective tape is present and affixed to the vehicle. My door tie is, my doors hinges are not damaged. They open and close, latch properly. All ties are secure. Okay, awesome.